Another data slate coming in hot. Normally these were only quarterly. Once a month feels kinda nuts. Not a ton of shifts though here. Some wording shifts that place the use of ploys before or after actions instead of loosely saying during an activation. This might clarify some interactions and counterplay, or it could be setting up the rules in preparation for new teams. There was also some further pushing for many insignificant models like squigs or bugs to no longer provide opponents with tasty points. We'll quickly glance over some of these. There were, however, a couple big winners this time around, and even some mild to big losers when it comes to the general adjustments. Much to go over, so if you're new to the channel and enjoy tabletop gaming, Kill Team is a heavy focus, but we are expanding as much as I am able to, all by my lonesome. Don't forget to tap that subscribe, maybe feed the Space Hulk's reactors with some flavor of thumb, and if you want to continue the conversation or even show off some projects or regale us with tales of your wins or losses, there is a Discord linked in the description below. Join up, we'll be happy to have you. Now, the April Kill Team data slate. Quick reminder that the new update format for Kill Team by Games Workshop involves splitting the rules up and numbering them based on the individual team's updates and not a universal number. I did my best to cross-reference old and new, thanks to the app not updating until I tell it to. Hopefully, I got everything, and many of the teams even had a change to their PDFs on the Warhammer community page, mostly designed to be printed and cut out for easy table use. Nice. Into the meat and potatoes. We'll start with a quick glance at the core rules. Simply put, Counteract is now involved with the limitation for heavy on weapons. This is stated as an or situation, which seems to imply that each instance is where the move can't occur. This should be related to some teams that have access to 2 actions during Counteract, like the Angels of Death with their Wrath of Vengeance ploy. This might also have something to do with that hyper elite Ravener squad we're getting. Maybe. Not much else from the main rules or even equipment, so hopefully those are in a good place for now. Diving into the teams. The Vespid are earmarked here as one of the winners of this update, moving from 8 to 9 choosable operatives. Tacked onto the leader in the drone, that ups this from a 10 to 11 body unit. More access to damage, wounds, and APL, although the general downside in these situations is that this will open them up to more counteracts from smaller teams. Keep that in mind for this squad, as well as another winner we'll go over later. The Sting ploy now also improves the hit stat of friendly units by 1, alongside all other benefits that were received prior. Should be a solid boost to damage output. Drone guidance no longer needs visibility for its action, just distance. Remember that in the Gallowdark, distances are still measured around walls, so no assisting units on the other side if you can't measure 6 inches around corners and through open doors. A good bonus for the little guy, who can now just hunker down out of sight of all enemies. The Long Sting ability clarifies that the neutron fragments are applied more than once per enemy based on the general ability, so a single model who happens to have 2 neutron fragments, when activated, will suffer 2 D3 damage. More fragment tokens, more D3s. Lastly, the Swarm Guard's Sky Torch was overhauled to be a little more single action. It costs 2 AP now, and it comes with a free reposition that is forced to be a fly and is enhanced by 2 inches, as well as a free shoot, which still seems to draw a line under where the operative moved. As this is a fly, if you are in the Gallowdark, it will be stopped by doors. Might be hard truly using this model in that situation, but get it into a big room and pretty much shut that room down from ever being invaded. Vespids keep getting solid buffs to help their damage and mission economy. Hopefully this pushes the dial up with their win rating. The Blades of Khaine were one of the teams that had the wording of their ploy adjusted to be a little more specific about it being before or after an action is used. This won't be the first minor shift, and it won't be the last. The Sanctifiers took a single, highly substantial hit. A new team that is sweeping the Vox for how destructive they are. I do love when team gimmicks feel very standoutish, and I do hope that over time they don't get hurled into oblivion with balance, as aura metas feel interesting. But here, the Confessor ability that allowed most of the team to take an extra reposition in turn 1 for a massive boon to mobility is reduced to only occurring in turn 2 and beyond. Now this is still strong. Many mobility options keep getting relegated to turn 2 and past that point, so I was wondering why this team seemed to circumvent the norm. Hopefully this helps, but with the amount of big dev damage and severe benefits the team can hand out, I don't know. It's gonna be rough. There must have also been a mini Dataslate, as this claims in previous releases that Unwavering Devotion can only confer cover or obscuring if the primary target had those benefits. I don't remember that, but there it is. Maybe it was a release update when they were dropped. The Nemesis Claw found a nerf with their Return to Darkness ploy in close quarters situations that include things considered to be walls, like the Gallodark. Those walls are no longer part of the requirement for this ploy. Even though they are heavy, and this action must end near heavy, walls are not that. You'll have to take a heavy deployable if you want to play around with some free maneuvers. Exaction gained a minor terminology fix for execution order, focusing on if an enemy operative would activate. This could involve some possibilities from interrupt actions, maybe opens the door for more specific outcomes. Otherwise, it's just pedantic. The Malakator had a wording adjustment to provide weapons targeting enemies marked by its ability that already have severe to also have lethal 5+. Basic. The Pathfinders, a team in not a great spot due to Kill Team's emphasis on forward momentum, saw a big adjustment to its Marker Light. The Tier 1 of Marker Light now triggers balanced on top of Saturate, which means Tier 2 was fully changed to now provide these Xenos soldiers with +1 to their hit stats, up to a max of 3+. Elite level shooting with a little bit of a delay. Don't know if this will fix the general team issue of needing frontline fodder that can hold positions. They also had an adjustment to point blank fusillade, the shoot in melee ploy. If it is retaliating in certain circumstances, it can choose to resolve the first attack. It is a bit rough though. This ploy's wording is very specific. The Wrecking Crew. I've talked to people interested in this team getting some fixes. Sadly, this is not your time. The Squigs were hit with the expendable benefit that prevents them from being used to score VP. So send those Squigs proudly to their deaths. The Salvagers took a bit of a hit. The wily jump pack warrior found his speed stunted like the rest of his kin, having it reduced by 1 inch to 7 inches in total. The Space Dwarves are reduced to Space Elves stats. Also, Writ of Claim no longer provides bonuses to the initiative roll based on objectives owned, if I'm remembering correctly. Instead, you simply have to contest 2 or more objectives, and you'll get a once per battle reroll for your initiative. Again, this is contesting. Ownership is not required here. So long as 2 salvagers stand on objectives, you'll have access to this. Just pray to your ancestors that you won't re-roll your low roll to the same or maybe less. Void Dancers took a minor nerf to their epic version of their Sadeaths. Retaliating is removed across the board, implying that gaining the trigger and utilizing the benefit can only occur if you are the aggressor. I still kinda like the Insane Elf Clown posse. This does hurt a little though. The Breachers. Apparently they have a fan club. That fan club is constantly spiraling. Notably, one of the more ineffective teams by most accounts. All they received is a change to the Deckhands Firefight ploy. It no longer cares about allied APL when targeting an operative, and it tries to be a little more universal in its use by removing the cost for passing through accessible terrain. It also adjusts timing to before or after ability use. And that's it. I feel like the adjustments for this team are always so little. There must be a player somewhere dominating with them in a way no one expects. These lack of changes only serving to prevent that individual from never losing, I guess. The Death Korps had their close range enhanced with the clear the line strat ploy. This now always provides accurate 1 in melee, but in certain situations involving location, the melee attacks can also benefit from severe. Between accurate 1 and severe, this is a guaranteed crit. Not bad, but not much else. The Farstalker Kinband had the wording changed for slip away to refine its use timing, like many other ploys we've gone over. Outside of that, these Kroot still stay Krooting. The Gellerpox, on the other hand, got a bit of a buff. Their mutoid vermin took part in the change to insignificant operatives and will no longer provide score for enemy interaction. Drawn to the Hum improved its distance to objective requirement up from 1 inch to 2 inch, giving a little leeway for the bonus move distance. And Blessings of Infection had its options expanded, normally upgrading 1 of 3 misses to a single success. It now also allows an upgrade of a normal hit to a crit in an oddly specific circumstance. You must roll 3 successes or more, and there must be a failure that can be discarded. For many, this is a very thread the needle moment. The Lumberghast only attacks 4 times, so 3 must hit and 1 must fail. There are some Hulks that attack 5 or more times, so possibly easier there, but still just odd. Lastly, and in my opinion, most importantly, their Mutoid Vermin equipment option now covers all 4 on-field vermin selection. Rather than spending 2 equipment points for their benefit, you only need 1. This is good, and this team has great equipment options and will sometimes rely on heavy barricades and other such tricks. Felt really bad only to have 2 selections past the vermin. The Jaegers had some decent buffs. Masterful Bladework Strat Ploy now also increases melee attack stats by 1 to a maximum of 4 on top of the already existing balanced rule. The Stalwart Defense Ploy also no longer lowers Jaeger hit stats by 1 when under the influence of this interrupt, which will make aggressive teams need to think twice before going all in. Plasma Knives, as an equipment option, now also provides operatives who already have the better version of this knife with the balanced rule. Probably a must-take in most situations. I feel like the Jaegers keep looking better and better. Probably a good sleeper team. The Hunter Clade also got a few buffs in the form of providing an ability called Control Protocol to several units. This ability allows that unit to provide the Command Override Firefight ploy for 0 cost to allied operatives visible to them. I'm not going to pretend to know the inner workings of this cult of Mars, but I can't see this as anything less than good. The Inquisitors got the minor insignificant update for their Tome Skull, nothing else on the docket for this oddball ranged monstrosity. Don't hear much about them after the Kasrkin ally nerf. The Inquisition's partners in the Ashes of Faith release, the Chaos Cults, also got a minor tweak. No longer will people have to fear torments running up on them to throw a frag or crack grenade. They can no longer use weapons, not on their data card. The Scout Squad got a bit of a close range spike. Emboldened Aspirant now provides the operative using it an enhanced Severe rule. Where Severe normally requires no retained crits to upgrade one, this will now always upgrade a normal to a crit. Normal restrictions of being first to shoot or fight, or enemy wound count being higher applies. But burst stacking crits in ranged or melee is pretty powerful, especially since you can see the results of the attack before choosing this path. Combat Blades universally had their normal damage up to 4, and the equipment version comes with 1 less attack than operatives that have access to this weapon on their own. 4/5 damage in close combat. The ability to choose to guaranteed crit. Might need to try out my scouts soon. Kasrkin, who I earmarked with the word big. There is a lot here. It still doesn't feel like the good old times of dice manipulation, but if you like Imperial Guard style combat, this team is that on steroids. The faction rule had several updates for its orders. Light 'em Up used to provide severe against ready enemy operatives. Now you can gain this benefit for out of cover operatives as well as operatives in the recon trooper scanning range. Ice in Your Veins used to lower a normal damage of 4 or more by 1 the first time your operative takes a hit. That minimum is now the Bolter standard of 3. 2 damage from the first Bolter normal hit. Not bad. Furcadia still provides +1 melee to attacks, but now when fighting, not retaliating, the first strike a Kasrkin uses will get +1 to its damage. So a decent bump to the general faction rule. From the ploys, Clearance Sweep now provides allied operatives using the marker the Ceaseless rule instead of balanced. Elimination Pattern factors in the Recon Trooper scan as a combo to gain its benefit. From equipment, the long-range scopes no longer require crits to trigger the Saturate rule, and pistols are affected by this upgrade. The Sergeant can now provide an ally an additional skill at arms ability on top of the one they already have, no longer replacing it. Lastly, the Recon Auspex scan had its wording reworked to emphasize that enemies within 8 inches are considered scan for all these other adjustments. Kasrkin still don't have the same punch they did, but all this enhancement to their combat efficiency as well as durability should hopefully provide a safe haven for fans of the Guard, who want something that feels a little more elite than the Death Korps. The Warpcoven took a minor hit in the form of a ploy shift. Capricious Plan used to allow a sorcerer to dash and possibly change its order, making it difficult to hold them down. Now the player must choose between the dash or the order change. Seems minor, but there will definitely be situations where both options would have been more required to achieve some Zinchi schemes. The Corsairs got a bit of a nerf. Capricious Flight got the basic wording update for before or after actions, but the Kernite Hunter had its bond rule adjusted. It's no longer about the falcho being used in the round. Instead, the Hunter must be in the ready state to choose to strike first in combat. The Shade Runner took a double hit, preventing dash in an activation where it warp jumped, and vice versa. This won't prevent dash from being used at all out of activation, like with a ploy or counteract. The Shade Runner must also have vision on a target it wishes to slicing attack. No more cheeky through wall damage on the Gallodark. Lastly, the Wayseeker had its warding shield nerfed to only prevent the first hit of normal damage. Crits will still pass through that magic shell. I feel like the Corsairs were both strong and mostly unnoticed by many, so these nerfs feel a little rough. The Starstriders had 2 minor shifts in wording. Both the Voidmaster and Elucia Vane clarified in their rules that weapons that gained Ceaseless would do so at the cost of the balanced rule. No more re-rolling all of one result as well as one bonus dice, just due to some odd wording choices. The Angels of Death were marked as updated, but I'm pretty sure this was just due to their PDF being updated with the new cutout cards. I have had a video in the pipe for weeks now, waiting for this update, just in case I needed to change it. So, seeing a non-update update, guess I'll get on finishing that. The Ratlings had their Bomber Tripwire rule updated to match pretty much all deployable item rules. They can no longer be placed near access points in accessible terrain. A simple change. The Hand of the Archon continues to get changes, despite me never seeing anything about them on the Vox. Power from Pain had its Stimulated Senses option nerfed from full single result rerolls to just a single dice reroll for any of its options. Cruel Deception had the before or after action wording update, and the Sky Splinter Assassin had its Razor Wing attack amount reduced from 5 to 4. A double slap of nerfs. Drakari are masochists after all. The Kommandos squig got the same update the Wrecker squigs got, allowing them to live their best life without scoring worry. The Felgor took yet another big hit in the balance department. Pretty rough all around. Frenzy now includes counteract as a trigger for the unit to self-incapacitate. I guess at least you get to choose if you are going to counteract at all, so at least there's some salvation in that. Ambush no longer allows upgrades of fails to hits, only hits to crits, so small loss there. Reckless Determination only allows the defense dice retention in situations where cover is not involved, so no double retention, although the wording is weird. Currently, the same piece of terrain can no longer provide both obscuring and cover. The operative must choose which it wants. This might mean you can choose obscuring and retain the save from the ploy. Maybe. Technically, you do have cover, you're just not utilizing it. It's all kind of weird. Sadly, as well, the Gnarl Scar and the Mangler had their wounds reduced to fall in line with the rest of the basic Beastmen, down from 11 to 10, and the Shaman's Tech Curse weapon had its Seek rule reduced to Seek Light. Dataslate after Dataslate of just kicking this melee powerhouse team into the dirt might have something to do with the fact that many of the models can do damage in melee without risk of retaliation. Seems pretty strong. The Aquilons are another decent win for buffs out of this rules update, making Hivestorm the big winner overall. Just like the Vespid, The Aquilons can now take an extra operative, as the Sentry is its own bullet point, but operative selection is the same quantity. As well, unit selection no longer suffers from the pick 3 option for gunners, marksmen, and sentries, so doubling up gunners with a marksman and having a backline sentry is perfectly fine. Also, Hot Drop received another shift to try to make it more universal. Now one of the triggers for the bonus comes from being wholly within enemy territory. No need to come in from the faction rule or jump from vantage. The Precursor also received Ceaseless on its dagger. Not as all-encompassing as the Vespid or as in-depth as the Kasrkin, but an extra body with more ranged burst potential might be just what the field medic ordered to get this team back in the limelight. Last on the updated lists are the Plague Marines with one change. The Cloud of Flies total distance from the marker an ally must be wholly within to receive its benefit is 1 inch. The over 3-inch distance an enemy has to be away is still the same, it seems. With 1 inch of play, this marker basically needs to be under whatever Plague Marine is using it. Considering a recent game I played with these, an understandable nerf. The original distance allowed for 2 Plague Marines to live in obscured bliss. The reduction to 1 should help a little with this Plague monster's durability. And all of that are the April updates for Kill Team. Seriously, only 1 month since the last update. We're living in some crazy times. It's nice to know G-Dubs is trying to keep a handle on any issues in this format, even if some of the choices seem questionable at times. Are there any shifts we went over that have you excited to pick up a team? Maybe one that has been on your shelf for a bit, or maybe one that you've been eyeing for purchase, or maybe changes that have you scratching your head in confusion? Let us know in the comments below, and remember, we do have a community Discord linked in the description. We can always continue the conversation over there. As always, likes for the like god and subscribes for the subscribe throne. I am Kimmerix, and I'll see you in the next one.